I have a very big suspicion that the video has failed, which just places a burden on me to have to talk about myself, and I find that rather embarrassing. But this is what I will say to you guys. What is most refreshing about this event this morning is to arrive for an event and there is no guest of honor who is probably an aging man reading in a drawn tone a badly written speech by a civil servant. So thank you very much for a new culture. But I would like to make a proposal that we adopt an honorary guest of honor for our event today. Agreed? Agreed? And I'll tell you who that person should be. Anybody wants to guess? Me? Oh no, that's a very low standard. Mrs. Tibarimbasa. Because she is the one who gave us Ninsima. That's why we are here. I think that is a unanimous vote, isn't it? Agreed now. So two things. Nisima, you said we look beyond. I want you BNI people, if you take anything away today, is to look beyond the money. Look to value. To you, Diana, look beyond BNI. Look to building wealth in Africa. And with that, my keynote is done. Well, I could end there, but I need to explain how I wound up in this BNI setting. I always avoid organized groups, including religion. I find them restricting for somebody like me. And oh, by the way, people are establishing their East African credentials. So Diana, let me do mine, okay? So I'm a Ugandan. My mother, her ancestors are from Bungoma. In fact, we still have relatives in Bungoma. My father, my great-grandfather, who gave birth to my grandfather, was a mufumu. In my language, that's a medicine man for the Umwami of Rwanda. Well, it gets a little more exciting. My wife is half Tanzanian from Moshi. So if there's anybody who can beat that, you can stand up. And I have been able to scale both Rwenzori, Elgon, and Kilimanjaro. So I know what Diana was talking about. I've been to Gilman's Point, I have been up to Uhuru, and I went with my wife. She almost fell down the crater. So thank God. yeah, that's how dangerous these things can be. So those are my East African credentials. So how did I wind up in BNI? I can't remember who called me, but they asked me to interview Diana about BNI. And it's one of the most listened to podcasts I have ever done. I think it had impressions upwards of 2 to 3 million. So it's a while back. So that's why she called me on stage. There's really no other reason. Then I have this friend of mine who has let me down today, but we shall settle that later, is Solo. So Solo, I want to see my video because I insist. People are wondering who I am, and I suspect you have something to do with the sound. So Solo, if this doesn't work, so Solo then, starts. I think you were the one who told me about Diana. Yes, it's you who said you must interview Diana. And I think that was part of the recruitment. Is it ready now? Not yet. Okay. Then one day I'm sitting there, and there's this friend of mine called Ruth Aine. So Ruth tells me, Robert, I want you to come to a BNI event at the ungodly hour of 6:30 a.m. at Imperial. I said, to do what? She said, just be there. Your coffee is going to be there. Up to now, I still don't know why she invited me, but I suspect she wanted to show off that she's my friend, and I allowed her to do that. So Ruth is a dear, dear friend, and she's the one who got me to understand what BNI is all about. And the second time I turned up at a BNI meeting is Helen Chirunda. For her, she was direct. She said, if you come, it will enhance my standing in BNI. I said, I'll be there. In all those conversations, I never brought any financial benefit to these people. But somehow they walk around BNI feeling self-important because somebody called Kabushenga turned up and generally looked lost, but has some value. I guess it's comical or entertainment value, which is probably why they asked me to do the keynote, to entertain you on a cold morning and then keep you busy. But it's also great to find that you keep good company. People like my good friend Agre, who was here. Agre Kagonyara is an incredible story of creativity, and we share certain things about reinventing yourself. That's a talk for another day, and coming out of things like that. Solo, I'm still waiting. You know, I'm going to let you off on this one. So, the thing that struck me about the BNI meetings is people were talking about the connections they had made and the value in money. So I was wondering, is this just a transactional relationship? So as I reflected on that, I wanted to tell you, we need to think about what is the purpose of a network? What is the purpose? Is it just a sale? Is it just, are you here just so you can do one transaction and hope that you can buy a Mercedes-Benz? You know, the Kiambu man missed that opportunity. He's talking about German cars. When they still used to plant coffee in Kiambu, they would buy Benz. Now they've built apartments. They don't know what's happened to the rent. So they come back to coffee. So the question is, what amounts to value in a business? Is it just the money, or is money a marker of the value? Number two, what is the value of you being part of BNI? You saw it on stage. You have seen what Diana has done in 10 years in a small country. So, Diana, you build a movement at an interesting time in East Africa. When I still used to be of some importance, I have since moved on. When I was young, they would tell us, you people are the leaders of tomorrow. Well, now I'm being told I'm the leader of the past. Where did my present go? You are the leaders today. You are building a new business culture that's creating wealth that will create opportunity for the people coming. So, when I challenge you to look beyond, I have been in meetings, East African Business Council and meetings, and what always used to annoy me is that it's a business council meeting, and they're giving so much importance to politicians who have never done business a day in their lives. It's on repeat. One day we went for a similar EABC meeting, and I kid you not, in one of the East African capitals, we were evicted at very short notice from our hotel because a delegation, with a very powerful delegation, is coming with a president of an East African country. We were thrown out. We had paid. Who was throwing us out? The East African Business Council organizers. But this is a business council meeting. Said, no, the big people are coming. So who are the big people? Politicians. What business do they do? So we were shunted off to some brand new hotel whose water wasn't working, and then the keys to the doors could open each other's doors. So at 2 a.m., one of the ladies, No, I'm not making this up. It sounds like a Nigerian movie, but at 2 a.m. in the night, one guy who had arrived on a late flight walked into a room where there was a lady sleeping, and she started screaming. The time when the so-called business lobbyists, the Kenyans will remember somebody called Jeremiah Kiereni, the Ugandans will remember James Mulwana. That era of advancing business has ended. It's now your time. You bring a new energy. In front of me, I see a future being constructed now by people who are invested in that future, not people trying to impose corrections and their failings of the past and trying to correct them through you. And this means that we're going to leverage new developments, population growth, technology, linkages, networking, and then work around obstacles such as politicians to advance the true interests of business. And if there is a platform that can deliver that outcome, it's BNI. And so today, I think when we go back, all of us should either make Diana's face a screensaver or put it as a poster, because you've shown us how to go to the future. So, what do I mean by value? It's a pity that one of my good BNI friends has refused to redeem himself, Solo, because I wanted to show you what the value of a network can do. But perhaps, Solo, there was a poster that I asked. If the video is not playing, is the video ready? Okay, you play it. People need a break from my voice. I also need a break from myself. Oh yeah, by the way, this is it. Can the camera zoom in on this? I'm drinking this, and this is why I wanted that played, because I want people are wondering, well, what does this guy do? You know, I can't even audition for a comedy night. I want you to know what I do. But a lot of it had to do with the displays, because, and it's not, don't worry, it's not, I don't do PowerPoint. I completely failed. I don't even know how to do a pitch deck, so don't worry about it. So when you're ready, just play. Yep. So, oh yeah, and I still use very old technology. So, not every, and that was the point I wanted to make with the displays. Not every connection should amount to a sale. No. Sometimes, just coming to sit in a BNI meeting, it is because it's been 3 days since I last spoke to a real person. Anybody can relate to? So I need to see a real human being in flesh and blood and have a conversation, and that in itself is the energy I need to drive my business. Can you attach a financial equity to that? And yet, when you sit with somebody, they may force you to think completely differently about your business. And sometimes when you're sitting alone, Diana spoke about it on the mountain. If you don't mind, Diana, because he's part of your sponsor, one of my really good friends is Moses Rutahigwa. Moses, as they say at government events, stand up for recognition. So there is something we do with Moses once every year. We go to South Africa, and then we pay 162 rand. We did that this year. We paid 162 rand to drive to Pietermaritzburg. Then we paid 1,200 rand to run from Pietermaritzburg back to Durban. We're a bit mad. That's 90 kilometers. But in that journey, the battle you have in your mind with yourself is incredible. At about kilometer 67, I started to ask myself, why did I ever even get into running as a sport? What am I doing here? It feels like that in business. It does. And then you turn sideways. So the oldest guy, and this is the oldest guy in that race, arrived 4 minutes before me. He's 85 years of age. He's a construction worker from Polokwane, and he has run 16 comrades. But you see, when you come to BNI, you will think that your problems are the biggest. And then you say, I have no shoes, and then you find a guy in BNI with no legs, and it gives you perspective. So, the network, I guess the point I'm trying to make is that the network that you're part of is more than just a transaction. So in terms of beyond, I don't know if that's the format, Diana, but in terms of beyond, can you allow members to express appreciation, not just for connections, but for the value of being part? That today, I came to the meeting and I found my good friend, your sister, my sister. I have known her for years. I will not say how many because then you'll know how old she is. Alan, who I haven't seen in a long time, and she knows why, but we talk, and just talking to Alan will probably give me fuel for the next 7 months. Yes. So, have a different view of people. How often, apart from announcing in a meeting, do you go back to the person who connected you to this business that you're doing, and you just keep saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, the person who connected you? When you build new networks where you're doing business, some of you, the only thing you do at Christmas time is to send a hamper to the MD, who leaves it hanging around in his office for a long time and then takes it home and the wife doesn't like the cooking oil. How about a hamper for the receptionist? Do you guys know how important a receptionist is for business? Why don't you have in BNI personal assistants of MDs as your members? Why are you looking for MDs? MDs are the most useless guys. Get the PA. She's the one who will get you in the door. She's the one who will make sure your invoice is on top and you get paid. She's the one who will tell you, this deal is coming up, are you ready? When they tell her to go and buy something, she will just pick the phone and call the person she knows. So in terms of beyond BNI, even if I don't own a business, can the beyond bring people who work in businesses who are central for our businesses? So you have ABSA as your sponsor. Why is the front office manager of ABSA not here being feted? You have Moses, who is just going to sell you services. Not very useful. Get the procurement person. That's what you need to supply food. And red uniforms. After all, you guys are all red. For those who don't come from Uganda, red has its connotations. So, I think that I have talked for too long, and I had hoped that by now, my things... Okay, one of the stories I wanted to tell you is that it's a lesson I learned in networking. In my early days, in my earlier job, I used to have a real job, by the way. Now I don't. Now I'm a street vendor, so I have to check on Google where the traffic is. And then I run there to do a few sales. So I'm a street vendor, basically. Oh, okay.
Very high altitude and therefore robust and growth.
Please rewind it so it starts properly.
What makes our coffee unique and special is that this particular area where it is grown, it is a very high altitude, and therefore robusta grown at a very high altitude will have a much better taste than those grown at much lower altitudes. We are now at Rujeyo Farm Limited. Our main activity is growing coffee. The coffee that we bring out to the market is grown entirely on our farm. Our feedback from our customers who drink it directly will tell you that it is very, very good coffee, and they wonder what is unique about its taste. We handle our coffee beans at harvest in a very specific and consistent way. Maintaining those standards means that we are able to sustain a consistent taste of the coffee. So it's the same throughout. Every initiative we're taking on is focused on improving the yield and improving the quality. And it's really how we manage our trees and keep our soils productive. 95 to 99% of our farming uses organic material. We stay away from application of synthetic inputs because we know that that really can do damage to the soil. The other practice that we're very huge on is growing of trees. What that does is it will help to cool the temperature and diminish the coffee stress. We planted initially trees that are compatible with coffee.
That will do. Now you know what I do for a living. I am now looking for a connect. It's really the only reason that I wanted the video played, because I know sitting in here somewhere is someone who knows a guy who is looking for coffee to buy. I am willing to sell coffee to people outside of Uganda. So for me, I'm not a service thing. I am a producer of coffee. That's what I do full time. I may not look like it, but that's my office. So, but the second and most important reason why I played that is that I've been doing that for 10 years. And I'm at a point of strategic inflection. I was wondering, where do I go now? No, my problems are too big. If you can get me $1 million contract, I'll be very happy. Then Diana, I will sign up. So, huh? Straight up, I will sign up. I want a contract, somebody willing to buy. But the story I want to tell you about that is that in my network, I went and looked for people who I wanted to help me determine my strategic direction. One was a VC, or a venture PE, private equity venture guy. The other is an international coffee trader. The third one is an international standards lady. And the fourth is in social impact investing. And we sat for 4 hours. And in 4 hours, they completely redirected my business. That, for me, is more important than getting a contract because it created strategic clarity for me. Yeah. So the question to you is, who in BNI can you draw on to redirect your business, even if it's not a transaction? Even if all you need is, how do I move my business from where it is today to 10x? The people are sitting right here in this room. Don't just look for transactions, look for value. Which is why I came to my first and second BNI, because both Ruth and Helen knew that they didn't need me to sell anything. But they understood that my character, my brand equity might do something for their business. And I think it did, because by the way, I'm a storyteller. That's my other job. So one very interesting story told by Richard Branson is that he once, when he was constructing his lodge in South Africa, he met a woman. There was a South African woman who was walking in the area where they were building, and she walked up to him and said, Mr. Branson, here you're a rich man. He said, yeah. Well, yeah. Okay, can you lend me $300? So Branson was taken aback, looked around in his pocket, I think he had some change, gave the lady $300, and that's the last time he sort of thought about it. Then at the opening, Mandela is there, and all of these big guys. Branson insists that that lady should be brought. She was making cushions with women and all of these things and selling them. So when Branson arrives with Mandela at the opening ceremony, finds these very well-dressed, colorful women dancing and singing, and they tell him that we are here to welcome you. He says, who are you? He says, do you remember the other woman you lent $300? That yes, says, that we are the outcome of that $300. That's not the best part of that story. So he asks them, where is she? He said, she's too busy growing the business. She doesn't have time to come for the event. Who sees Diana in that story? So I take you back to value. Finally, and I really don't want to waste a lot of your time. I have talked too much already. When I started my previous job, and you can go and Google and find out, I had to figure out how to do the job. One of the places I went was books. And Solo, if you display that face, if you can never find this book, I recommend it to you. It's a man called Sam Jonah. The last time I checked, he's the Vice Chancellor of Cape Coast University, and Chancellor, and runs a VC in Johannesburg called Jonah Capital. You don't know Sam Jonah. You can Google him. But Sam Jonah, at a very difficult time in Ghana, was appointed as managing director of Ashanti Gold. And he had to balance. So this is, first of all, it was a time of recovery. It was a fully owned, government-owned enterprise, and he had to turn it into profit. One of those prized possessions. Think about in your country, like a national asset, where politicians feel entitled to go and dip their hands in and determine who should be your secretary and give job to my daughter and that kind of thing. The lessons I learned from him was how you build networks and how you nurture relationships, even if the relationship is not one that you think may be central to your business. Because Jonah understood that value was most important. And then what he did, today, if you Google, what used to be Ashanti Gold is now Anglo something Gold, Fields, 19 countries. It's a massive business because he managed certain relationships in the early stages. And I learned my lessons. So, for me, one of my things my children always laugh at is they ask me, do you know everyone in Kampala? Because I make it a point, when I meet you, I never ask for your Christian name or your first name, unless, of course, your first name is African. I always want to know what your surname is, because I'll never forget a surname. They are random Roberts. But I kid you not, there's only one family in the world that has the name Kabushenga. Every Kabushenga, I swear to God, every Kabushenga you meet is my relative. So, you never forget people's names. Greet everyone politely, even if you don't know them. And if you don't know them, ask them, please remind me. And me, I have a perfect excuse. I have gray hair. I say, I'm too old to remember. Where did I last meet you? And the person says, no. You've never met me. I just wanted to say hello. Then I ask about them. Nurture relationships. Because you don't know where that relationship will take you. So, Solo, I don't know if my third video is ready. But I leave you with exactly the same words that I gave to BNI Naguru? Achievers, yes, that's the kind of company I keep. I want you to reflect on what I told those people. Because if everything I have said now doesn't convince you, at least let that convince you. And I have to go. I'm not going to stay. I'm going to meet other people because we're organizing. Yeah, for those of you who are interested, I might as well also connect that. We are organizing an independence marathon, and we're going to run from Kampala to Entebbe. So if you feel woman enough or man enough, come and prove your mettle and join us. So I'm going to that meeting. We're going to discuss how to make that. Will be on October 9th. So I need to go and be of value elsewhere. I have finished my value here. Thank you very much for the coffee. And please remember to thank our guest of honor for giving us our national director. And with that, Nisima, thank you for asking me to come. Bye. So that I don't get carried away. So the thing that I noticed here. Please sit down. I have not earned this. If that video is ready, please play it, yeah? I know the MC. So that I don't get carried away. So the thing the MC wants a selfie here is, yes, BNI, the way it is structured, it's all about business. But you're young. All of you are very young, young in age, young in business. And so what I'd like to leave with you is to think about looking beyond the money. How do you build a relationship? What goes into building a relationship? When you meet here every morning, do you actually understand the person you're sitting next to? And the person who is sending you referrals, you are not entitled to their referrals. And so how do you ensure that this relationship will outlast the times that you spend in BNI? So I haven't sat in an office in almost 5 years now. The thing that has sustained me is not so much the money or the income that I generated while I was in your world. It is the relationships that I have built over those years. And one of them came in particularly handy about 2 days ago when I was stuck. And somebody said, you come and see my boss, he will solve your problem. And the only reason she called me to see her boss is because about 7 or 8 years ago, and she told me this at the end of the meeting, she said, it's because you used to, when we sent you messages, you'd answer them. When we called you, you would respond. So I urge you as BNI members, beyond the transactions, beyond the referrals that you get, please, what value do you bring to the life of the person who is sitting with you? Don't be extractive. Don't just get things out of people. No. Please improve the life of the other person. The most important thing is do not expect anything in return.
Yes.
Don't even demand it. Just do it for what it is worth. Nobody, as I have learned, nobody comes into your life by accident. Everyone is sent in your life for a purpose. Please, just make sure that that person experiences you for who you are and gets benefit. You never, ever, ever know. I'll leave it at that.